And a very good evening to our dear viewers. Thank you for tuning into this week's edition of Talk to Sven. As usual with me, I have Salma Moses with me, who does the sign language interpretation. Over the last weeks, we discussed growth at home, the local economy, which is so important for us. And we celebrated various personalities, we celebrated entrepreneurs of the wonderful things they have done. But tonight, we'll be discussing something else. The festive season is very fast coming up, and we all know that with the festive season, a lot of traveling is done. And we know already now that in the last weeks, we had some fatal accidents. And unfortunately, with a lot of people that have, especially innocent people, that that died in these accidents. Now, this past Sunday, we celebrated on the 15th of November, the World Day of Remembrance of Road Crash Victims. And according to the United Nations, worldwide, approximately 1.35 million people die as a result of road traffics each year. And about more than 50 million people are injured annually. Now, obviously, the biggest factors is, which amongst many, but the main areas are speeding, drinking and driving, distracted driving. In fact, before the show started, we talked about that one. No safety belts and non-roadworthy vehicles is often what causes the accidents. These basic lifesaver actions can be promoted through the development of comprehensive road safety legislation and a rigorous enforcement. No legislation is effective without the adherence thereof, and therefore we call on all our road users to commit to the rules of the roads. In Namibia, annually in excess of 700 lives are lost on our roads, of which more than 50% are vulnerable road users, meaning that for each committed act, one dies. And the city of Windhoek also have come forward to develop and approved a non-motorized transport strategy that will be implemented over the next coming years to come. With the festive season approaching fast, we've invited the managing director, Marco Wenk of Namibia Breweries, who have a long-standing commitment to road safety and responsible drinking in general. We also have the Road Fund Administration CEO, Ali Ipinge, to share more on the newly launched RFIA integrated strategy and the new brand of the RFA. And of course, our senior superintendent, Adam Isep, from the city the city police, to tell us how the police will complement these initiatives, especially during the upcoming festive season. Good evening and welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let us start with Ali. Ali, provide us just a short overview. What does the Road Fund Administration stand for? Many people, I think everybody knows you. Everybody knows the RFA, but many people don't really know what exactly do you do.
Yeah, thank you, Sven, for inviting me to your program. It's an important and informative program to the listeners out there. If I can just start off perhaps with the background to the Road Fund Administration. It's an entity which was created about 20 years ago, and it was formed out of a project called MOTEC 2000, which was initiated through a road sector reform of the mid-1990s that basically promoted the idea that for you to have an effective and efficient road network, you have to have a clear, distinct responsibility between the actors. In this case, the Road Fund Administration was created. At the same time, also the Roads Authority was also created to support the management of the road network. And then the third leg to that reform was the creation of the road contractor company. But I'm here to talk about the Road Fund, RFA in short. So in essence, our mandate is to create or generate a pool of resource or pooled resources from the road users that are using our road network and use those funds from the road users under what you call the user pay principle to fund the maintenance and upkeep of the national road network, but also by extension support to local authority to manage and maintain their urban roads and streets. And the third leg to our mandate is to support the enforcement of the National Transport and Traffic Act in terms of traffic law, but also to enforce the Road Fund Act. Henceforth, we also provide some limited support to traffic law enforcement to ensure that the road users are obliged and of course use the road network responsibly by making sure that either they have got vehicles that are licensed on the roads, the drivers are licensed, they have got roadworthy vehicles that are operating on the road, and then of course to make sure that they don't use substance abuse or alcohol, or within of course the prescribed limits on the road. So in essence, that is the mandate of the road fund. I could actually, in simple term, call it a road bank. Since, of course, our creation, the road users in Namibia and, of course, our visitors that are using our roads have been maintaining this asset, the National Road Network of Namibia, which as of this year's estimate is estimated to be valued at about 101 billion Namibian dollars. So that is a replacement cost of the total road network of Namibia, which is about 48,000 kilometers in extent.
Great. Ali, many people say Namibia has got one of the best, or if not the best, road infrastructure in Africa. And there obviously were some comments already tonight that were saying, is it really true and how do you know? And the senior superintendent said also earlier, maybe you should hire a jet and fly all over to see whether it's really true. Is it really true?
Well, we don't do these studies ourselves as a country. In fact, the studies is done by the World Economic Forum through the World Economic Competitiveness Report. So annually, they do this study, and then yes, they do send out people to go and then do visual assessment to see, the quality of the road, but also more importantly, the access to the citizen to the road network. And I think on those two metrics alone, Namibia has done well over the past 5 years. We have been ranked number 1 on the continent of Africa. And then this year, we have actually improved on our global ranking from 28 to 21. So in other words, we are faring pretty well on the global scale. And in fact, if you look at the other sectors, because the competitiveness report, covers, all sectors from rail to, to education, to transport, to all the sectors in the economy. And the roads in Namibia have actually ranked high on the overall Namibia competitiveness ranking. So I think that says a lot to the efforts that the Road Fund Administration does, but more so also on the efforts that the government of Namibia is putting in the constructions of new roads. And in essence, what happens that when a new road is built, the responsibility to maintain that road is then shifted or transferred to the Road Fund Administration to maintain. And of course, we don't do physical maintenance. What we do, we raise the capital or the resources to make sure that those maintenance efforts do take place. And that is managed by our sister organization, the Roads Authority. And I must say that I think the user pay principle, which was adopted through the MOTEC project that I indicated of the 1990s, I think have served Namibia well in terms of those, the statistics that I just quoted. But of course, that doesn't mean that, all the road sections in the country are in good shape. Of course, there are certain road sections that are in dire need for rehabilitation, both your bitumen road and also the gravel roads. And I must, think, be also upfront here that the gravel road network, unfortunately, has deteriorated to the level that about 45% of our total gravel network, which makes up about 80 or to 85% of our total network size, are in dire need for regraveling. And then I think this is contained into some of the strategies that we are going to employ in the future to make sure that we rebuild those gravel roads to acceptable standards again. And also, secondly, there are certain bitumen road sections that are in dire need for rehabilitation. And if I can just mention a few, we are funding the maintenance of the first section, which is about 90-kilometer section between Marienthal and Keetmanshoop. And that work, in fact, we are having a groundbreaking ceremony next week, Monday. The contractor has been appointed to start with the rehabilitation of that road. The road has, of course, was designed in the 70s. It has reached its lifespan, so now it's time that we need to rehabilitate that. The other main concern on the bitumen road is the road between Omaruru, Karibib Omaruru. That road was built in the early 70s. It has also reached its lifespan, and we have started with the effort to do what you call light rehabilitation. We have appointed a contractor also about a month ago to make sure that 65-kilometer section of the road is rehabilitated to the standard that is required. So right now, the road users are asked. I drove that road myself about a week ago. And the potholes, in fact, I have not seen those potholes in my life in Namibia. So it's a shame, but also an opportunity for us to improve our game to make sure that we do not have a road section that is potholed. Other efforts, of course, that are in the pipeline is to upgrade the Karibib Usakos all the way to Swakopmund over the next 5 years. Roads Authority is busy with the feasibility study and the design to make sure that when those studies completed, and of course subject to funding availability, the work should then commence as soon as possible. So I think in a nutshell that's the status. But of course, the road users will always tell you that if my specific road section that I drive every day, if it's not good condition, of course, they will dispute those global ranking. But we take the whole network, and then, of course, we look at the access. The access basically means if you have to leave from your home to go to the highways or the national road network, how many kilometers do you need to drive? And I think Namibia has done well to provide that access to a number of its citizens that able then to use the road network. And of course, that is done not only for the use of the usage of the road for its sake, but it has been done to make sure that it spur the economic activity and support the economic growth of this country.
Absolutely love the way you have described it, because on the one side we can really be proud to be the best in Africa. But I think I really like the way you also said, but we have got issues. There are a lot of areas we need to improve. And I think that what we as Namibians need, that we are honest about it, which is very important. Maybe one little question before we have a look at your strategy. For some viewers may want to know, what are you doing about, say, the Etosha or the Sossusvlei, where many of the roads are also not in a good shape?
Yes, thank you, Sven. The issue of the conditions of our what we call tourism road, or the roads that provide access to by the tourists to various tourist attraction in the country, because of course of the frequency, you tend to have, of course, this is at the height of the boom in the tourism sector when we had a lot of tourists coming in. Of course, it does place a heavy burden, particularly on the gravel road network, which is, of course, as you would appreciate, when you drive on the gravel road, every time that you see that dust going up, It means that the materials of the road materials are being displaced. And you are displacing the gravel that we have put on for the ease of driving and so forth. So, of course, with high usage, so is the higher displacement of this material and hence the deterioration of these gravel roads. So it requires then that you have to re-gravel these roads. Usually the average is 5 years. But what we have not done, of course, well, and of course is due to a number of factors, limited funding being one of them. We were not able then to re-gravel the roads at the set minimum regoverning standards. So it means that you are now delaying the regoverning of these roads, and then the roads, were so much that to the point that some, you're almost at the base of the road. So what we're saying is that we are employing a strategy going forward to increase the graveling units. These are basically the contractors that are appointed per region. We want to increase those. And of course, with them, one emphasis to make sure that all the tourist roads are re-gravel. But of course, for the general public as well, there are other roads that, where you don't have, high frequency of tourists, but they're in bad shape. So we are doing exactly the same to upgrade those. Last year also, we have been approached by the Ministry of Environment to assist them to rebuild some of the gravel roads in Etosha. So we have gotten the approval from our line minister, that's the Minister of Finance, to provide some limited funding towards the rehabilitation of some of the roads in Etosha, and works have started already in August this year, and we hope that for in the next 2 years we would have rebuilt to the extent of about 200 kilometers of roads in Etosha, which of course will help to improve our appeal to the tourists, and then hopefully that you are able to retain, those tourists to come back in the future, since they have got easy access to drive to various destinations or tourist attraction in Namibia. So that is part of the strategy to assist the tourism sector.
Wow. Excellent. That would be very good news to many, I think, especially in the tourism sector, which is anyway, suffering now under COVID. That would be welcomed news. I think if we can just quickly have a look at your promotion video, understand that you've launched a new strategy and a brand for the Road Funds Administration. Maybe if we can have a quick look at the video.
Sure. Dear colleagues, I'm excited to announce the launch of our beautiful new brand identity. This new look demonstrates how we at the RFIA have shifted our perspective to differentiate ourselves and drive home our purpose. I'm proud to introduce to you the RFIA as you've never seen before. This is our new logo. It was inspired by a bird's eye view of roads, highways, and intersections, creating an abstract shape that symbolizes movement, progress, and connection. Our new slogan, Funding Roads, Steering Growth, reminds our customers what we do and what value we offer as an organization. Our values have changed to representing our mantra, which is to accelerate progress at all times and shine in all we do. The S in SHINE stands for service excellence. We embrace the highest possible performance standards to delight our stakeholders. H stands for honor. We account for our decisions and actions as stewards of RFA. I stands for integrity. We inspire trust through honesty, transparency, and ethical dealings. The N is incorporated within innovation. We pursue creative ways to deliver on our mandate. And the E stands for empowerment. We embrace diversity, equity, and lifelong learning. Therefore, we empower ourselves and the stakeholders we serve. A new logo, a new look, a new way of thinking. This transformation of our corporate identity elevates our brand to iconic status, setting us apart and reiterating our commitment to providing service excellence that shine.
Wow. Congratulations on the new strategy. Looks very exciting. Looking forward. I must say, it really represents what you've said so far, really with a down-to-earthness And yeah, good luck. I really wish good luck with the new RFA, as you said it. Senior Superintendent, we understand you have a very strong relationship with the Road Funds Administration as well. What have you got up the sleeve this year to make sure people obey the rules, the traffic rules, and so forth?
Yeah, thank you, Sven. I must admit that RFA plays such an important role in as far as keeping our machinery oiled, keeping us going in terms of the support we're receiving to be able to exercise our mandate. Now, Windhoek City Police Service has its existence through the Namibian Police Act that was amended, and it established now, they created the platform for local authorities to establish policing services. The difference one finds generally in Namibia is that most local authorities, or some, will have traffic law enforcement function, however, not the policing function. Windhoek is the only one currently with that policing function. And having been established by an amendment of the Namibian Police Act, its mandate is to complement the Namibian police force in traffic law enforcement, crime prevention, and of course, bylaw enforcement. Now, on the other hand, we also account to the local authority, which forms the basis of our existence. So you may at times say, we, as much as we are accounting to the local authority, we also have a direct responsibility to support the national efforts in as far as road safety promotion is concerned. Now, when we enforce the national law, Road Traffic and Transportation Act, it's basically done on an agency basis because the Minister of Works and Transport appoints traffic officers as authorized officers to enforce the Road Traffic and Transportation Act. And by so doing, support the mandate that comes from the different agencies that reports to the Minister of Works and Transport, including RFIA. So we can say we are serving different masters. They all have a role to play to point us to certain areas the way perhaps our concentration or our attention would be required. The city of Windhoek, as we all know, is the capital. It's the administrative capital as well, seat of the government, but equally also the main entrance, if you like, of your international travel, having the international airport here. And moreover, as the economic capital, you also have a lot of regional traffic visiting the city. And from that perspective, we basically will have 50% of vehicles that are registered in Namibia are from the Commerce region and then Windhoek in specific, as well as you would find quite a number of other regional traffic visiting the city. So one can already imagine the pressure that is put on the use of roads, the pressure that is put on the possible risks of crashes. And then without law enforcement, one could just imagine what would be the state of affairs. Now, law enforcement is good if you have manpower. However, it is also critical that these manpower are well resourced and they have the necessary equipment to be able to enforce the laws that goes with it. Being a local authority institution, virtually it's simply not possible as a local authority that is a service provider to be able to fund traffic law enforcement activities in full. And then that's where the funding from RFA comes in handy. We can conveniently say we have mobility in terms of different types of transport that we are using, be it motorcycles, because you need to maneuver around the busy streets, very much convenient if you want to deal with some congestions and obstructions. You certainly need to transport your manpower from point A to point B. And most importantly, without technology, in terms of enforcement, we certainly would be doomed. So that's where it is very critical that we have the necessary enforcement equipment. I'm referring to, if you want to control speed, you will have to have state-of-the-art speed law enforcement equipment. And we can pride ourselves that we have ventured in different types of technologies that we devised throughout the city in order to see what works best. Speed management means fixed installations, especially at intersections where you would then detect speed as well as also those that are skipping red lights. Why is speed a critical factor if you want to reduce crashes? We know there is a saying, the faster you go, the harder you hit. It's probably not speed that kills, but the sudden stop. And then by being present on the roads, by controlling how drivers are operating, we are able to control that aspect. And we also know the alcohol misuse. Combining use of alcohol with driving is also another factor that needs to be effectively controlled. And for that, you need to have applicable equipment. So we need to have screening devices as well as also the evidential breath screening, because we have moved away greatly from only relying on blood samples, which could be cumbersome because you need a medical practitioner to be able to obtain a blood sample. There is a time frame allocated to it that you need to get that blood sample within a specific time frame, but it's the same medical practitioner that is also required to assist with any other emergency. And therefore, we need specialized equipment called the breathalyzers, making life much easier for us to effectively deal with drunk driving. And once you have obtained the sample, the next phase is the prosecution phase that to prove perhaps the offense. So all these are only possible if we have appropriate funding. And that's where I can confidently say we are well-resourced as of now, that we are able to manage the circumstances on the road. The law is there, but it's all about the attitude of the driver. How do we view laws? Do we appreciate the laws that are there in place? And if the driver attitude is not right, then obviously you will always have incidents of crashes occurring. And then that's the bigger picture that we are looking at. We are ascribing to the decade of action. And there is a national strategy that we also ascribe to. And from that perspective, we form part of the national road safety stakeholder cluster. And what happens in Windhoek is actually eventually seen happening elsewhere in the country. As different law enforcement agencies, we combine our resources and also our visibility and extend it elsewhere throughout the length and breadth of Namibia. So that's a bigger role that we play as city police, not necessarily only concentrating on city of Windhoek. However, we also service the bigger part of our region.
Well, I mean, I must say, I always say that one of the most important basics in a country is safety, education, and health. And you are probably one of the most important pillars of the nation in terms of, everybody, if something's wrong, the first one they call the police.
Oh, yes.
No need for help. So I must also say at this point, I must also really thank you and appreciate for what the police is doing. And I think it sounds very comprehensive, the plan that you have and that's coming up. Marco, I just want to know, is NBL, Namibia Breweries, again on board with the whole road safety campaign? And can you share what is that you do?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sven. I think for us, we obviously have a different modus operandi in terms of the specific aspect around alcohol and road accidents. I mean, so Ollie obviously has infrastructure, as the SUP has enforcement. And I think we really focus on behavior and really look at trying to change the behavior of the public in terms of, when they go out on the road, how do they act, how do they behave, to ensure that we always are visible in terms of our messaging, to our consumers out there and to road users out there. I think that so predominantly our focus is around marketing, around specific campaigns that focus on don't drink and drive. We have done that for many, many years. It is something that we continuously do and will continue doing as well this year. So please look out for a big campaign again from the Namibia breweries in terms of don't drink and drive. I think our big focus obviously is #TakesANation. Over the past few months, specifically after the start of the COVID pandemic, we rolled out the Takes a Nation campaign, which was really focused on making sure that people understand how their behavior contributes to specific aspects around society. That campaign is obviously going to be broadened now, throughout the season to really also focus on the driver behavior within Namibia and to make sure that, drivers understand what they need to not do if they enter the road infrastructure or if they go into their cars. I think the other one that we've obviously done over the years, Sven, is Drink IQ. Drink IQ was, for us, over the years, very successful in terms of really making the public and also corporates understand the impact that alcohol has on an individual. How much can you drink before it starts impacting you? I know the view is no alcohol is best, which is obviously a view that we also share. But I think Drink IQ really gives you the understanding of what actually does alcohol and how does alcohol actually impact your body if you do consume it. And we're also extremely excited about the future of the Drink IQ program because in the past it was very face-to-face. We're taking that digital now to really try and get massive reach within Namibia to make everybody understand the impact that alcohol has, especially when it comes to driving, which is the discussion today. So I think on top of that, and maybe lastly, we obviously also very involved with the LIFA service, which is also very much related to today's discussion. As you know, LIFA is a transportation app, which Namibia Breweries is proud to say we were part of founding that app together with the owners. And that app has really grown over the years, specifically within the central region, to make sure that if you do have a drink, although you have come with your car, leave your car where it is, and rather take LIFA, it is a really efficient service and it really allows you to get home safe.
Mm-hmm. Michael, how important is it that there's a strong cooperation between the police and the RFIA?
Very, very important. Very important. I think, the law enforcement has always been a very important stakeholder and somebody that we've worked closely with over the years. I think we have also supported Roadblocks on many occasions, whether it is through supplying, water or soft drinks, or whether it is to actually also even hand out information kits to road users. We've also supported with breathalyzer equipment over the years to really try and show our support to the fight against drunk driving. And also very excited this year that we are teaming up with law enforcement as well as SAIF, which is the Self-Regulating Alcohol Industry Forum, to supply the law enforcement with motor vehicles, that will allow them to have a further reach on the Namibian roads to be able to combat drunk driving and obviously also other aspects around that.
Good. Ali, are we ready to tackle the festive season?
I believe so, Sven. And I think from the road sector side, more particularly from the road fund, our strategy is, of course, informed by long-term sustainability of the usage of the road infrastructure. And part of our funding, sometimes people ask you, but so you just pay for the maintenance of the work. I said, yes, it's that goes with it, but there's a lot that happens before that. In terms of your design, your roads have to be designed in the way that it promotes road safety. In terms of your road markings, so we spend millions of Namibian dollars to make sure that our roads nationwide are marked, to promote road safety. Road signage. If you look at the amount of money that we spend on the erection of of this road signage on the road is massive. And the other auxiliary services that we also support is the debushing and the cleaning of the road reserve. And again, that comes at a cost, but it's something that we have to do. I mean, if you drive to some countries, I will not mention names, you will be appalled by the amount of either bush encroachment on the roads, or the amount of litter on the road. So the reason why you hardly see litter on the road is because somebody actually does pick up litter. It doesn't mean that we don't have those road users that misbehave by throwing out tins and cans and plastic out of the window, which is it's shambolic, but people do so. But we have to employ people on the roads to do this. So if you put all this together, it gives you really a sense of the amount of support that the road fund provide to promote overall road safety in the country. Of course, that is now is done on an ongoing basis, not just at certain times or at festive season.
That's great. Senior Superintendent, what can we expect? Roadblocks?
Yes, absolutely. Our strategy is informed by data. What we do is we collect information on crashes from different police stations, and we have crash analysts that are analyzing the crashes to indicate the location, perhaps the time, the type of the crash. Now that information is so critical for us to be able to use our resources equitably where it's actually needed most. So that project has been extremely successful in attending to the real issues.
So
furthermore,
what it means is that if you see a track high statistics on certain issues in a certain area, you'll put the resources more there.
We put additional resources there. But then equally, we base our interventions on what is internationally acclaimed as the ease of traffic law enforcement. And therefore, it looks at engineering aspects of it. We closely work with the city engineer to see are there perhaps any other mitigations that could come to address problems of crashes occurring. Whether it's reducing speed in certain areas, sometimes you would find high pedestrian volumes, however, the speed remains high. Perhaps introduction of speed humps, maybe introduction of traffic signals. We have to influence this by way of analyzing our statistics. We also look at the education part, which is critical because it's a change of mindset. The laws may be there, requirements may be there, but not all road users understand how to behave, how to approach certain circumstances. So we need to influence. And by so doing, we have exhibitions we do, be it at schools, targeted parts of our society, elderly, children, and then we obviously make use of the electronic media quite a bit, just to influence and educate people what the expectations from our side, and then ultimately enforcement. Because you have created at least the enabling environment, you educated people to tell them the do's and don'ts, but then you still find that portion of road users that will still break the law, and that's where you need to come in with enforcement. Around festive season, we are saying, we know it has been the general norm that there is a big exodus. Most people are leaving the city to different destinations over the festive season. So we have a duty to prepare our clients. We want them to return in one piece as much as they leave the city. So now we are looking at fitness of vehicles, for instance, roadworthy checks. So you will find roadblocks that are at strategic places, and some of them will be what we call hit and run, at places that you may not expect to see a roadblock. And the purpose is to make sure your vehicle is sound and safe in all aspects. So make sure you use a qualified mechanic to have a look at your vehicle. Then we are also looking at driver fitness, because driving licenses are expiring. So you'll have to check up that your license is always valid. So when it comes to enforcement areas that we mainly concentrate on, is, as I earlier on alluded, to look at how can we change the attitude of our drivers. And the changing of attitude deals with mostly moving violations, lane changing, the small things that people just do without realizing, skipping a red light, the position where you stop after reaching maybe a stop street. These are very small but very critical issues if you want to change your mindset to appreciate, because the roads are forgiving. However, if drivers are also not appreciating the laws that apply, you are likely to see problems happening. So we'll be concentrating, therefore, on speed law enforcement, use of cell phones, because distracted driving, we know, is the bigger contributor to most crashes. So the use of cell phones, but also other issues that we are keeping ourselves busy in the vehicle can also be a contributor. And then it's a zero tolerance approach that we take this time around. We simply want to remove the smallest of a mistake that you make. Remember, there will be always a consequence. So we also look at specifically pedestrian safety. Pedestrians to know which part of the road is destined for them, how should they behave if they intend crossing public roads, and then public passenger transport. That's the bigger component that is also contributing mostly to people moving from one destination to another. However, it's also the one where you have always mass casualty crashes happening. So therefore, we need to strictly control, because there is a permitting system, legal requirements when it comes to the operator or the driver to have certain permits, and they should operate those vehicles within specific speed limits. So these are areas that we are strictly concentrating on, and this we can achieve because we have now, under the national framework, the communication between all the law enforcement agencies throughout the country. So we'll be monitoring a vehicle as it's leaving Windhoek, destined for instance, the coast. And as it's passing every region or a sub-area where our activities are happening, we'll have to control the movement of that vehicle and make sure maybe the number of people that are transported are maintained, and also the behavior of the driver is monitored throughout. So our presence generally must be felt. So those are most of the activities that we will be keeping ourselves busy with.
Wow. What happens, just for the viewer, what happens if I get caught drinking and driving?
Oh, yes. You'll certainly be arrested and your vehicle will be impounded. You will be deprived of that dangerous item that is likely to cause your life, but also the lives of others.
Right.
And we will keep that vehicle because it's exactly within the requirements of the law. The vehicle will be kept as an exhibit while the case is ongoing. And subsequently, if one is found guilty, you can be rest assured your driving license will be suspended. Minimum for 3 months on first case or conviction, subsequently 6 months, and it can be extended, and subsequently it can also be revoked. So that's the part that we are seriously invoking. We have been in consultation with the prosecuting authorities, and certainly they are embracing that we need to put our foot down. Yeah, to ensure we reduce loss of lives on our roads.
Thank you very much. We are running so fast out of time here. Marco, maybe a last word from your side. And what else can I drink? Is there an alternative I can drink instead of this alcohol?
No, for sure, Sven. So, number one, I think we obviously have got world-class product, and I think all of our products are world-class, but we don't just sell alcoholic products. I mean, we also produce either low alcoholic or non-alcoholic products. We just launched some great non-alcoholic beers, which can be enjoyed any time of the day. We obviously have soft drinks, we have water, and I think that is really for us very important. To Superintendent's point is, we need to hold ourselves accountable. When we do drink, and make sure that we do it in the most responsible manner. And I think that is what we stand for as breweries. And you can be sure that we will be visible out there in terms of really trying to change that behavior, and really try and make sure that at all times people understand the impact that drink driving can have, both on themselves as well as others.
Great. Thank you, Marco. And means don't drive if you drink. A final word from you, Ali?
Yes, well, I think from our side as an organization, we are just appealing to the road users out there when they do take on the road, that they should obey the law. They should stay within the prescribed speed limit. They should not overtake on blind side. I know even though we are in a recession or tough economic conditions, we still have got very good cars on our roads. And we tend to forget that, we, with this, nice, full, efficient vehicle that can travel to astronomical speed, we forget that we need to operate within the prescribed law. And I think if we do keep to that, I'm sure a number of accidents and crashes can be avoided. And I think that's incumbent upon all of us as road users to stick within those rules, and I'm sure we will be able to arrive, safely at our destinations.
Thank you. A final message to you, to road users?
Road users need to partner with the law enforcement authorities. Let's be the eyes and ears, and let's report. The technology is at our fingertips. If you find a driver that is driving recklessly, a vehicle that is overloaded, simply text a message to the relevant authorities. Get all those important numbers. For instance, City Police is 4444. That's a SMS line. It comes in anonymously, and wherever it is in Namibia, we'll be able to link up with the appropriate authority to intercept. Let the driver realize it's not only the men in uniform to guard them, but also the occupants in the vehicle that he or she is transporting. That could be the one to report him or her about bad driving.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I think before we close, we will have a quick look at the NBL TV commercial. And I think it's a commercial which we should take to heart, as this is what could happen. Let's have a look at the commercial.
Hello, my baby.
Hi, Daddy. I haven't seen Daddy in so long. How's Daddy doing? Daddy having fun with his new job?
I'm doing so good, my baby. Daddy's really doing well with his new job. Everybody's so nice to Daddy here.
I wish Daddy could still come home after work like he used to.
Longa, mokalu lazy man.
What's Daddy's new house like?
Daddy has such a nice new home with a big room and a picture of you right next to my bed.
I also have a picture of you next to my bed, Daddy. I hope Daddy's making lots of new friends.
I've made so many friends, my baby.
I can't wait to meet them, Daddy. I'm proud of you, Daddy. I'm so excited to see you again, Daddy.
When Daddy gets on holiday, I miss you.
I love you, Daddy.
I love you too.
Yeah, so you've seen what can happen. We've had a wonderful discussion with the senior superintendent, as well as the CEO of the Road Authority Administration, as well as the CEO of Namibia Breweries. Amazing to hear more about it, and please take it seriously. You see what can happen if something happens to you, and then you have to phone your children or family from the prison. And you heard from the senior superintendent that if you get found drinking and driving, the consequences will be severe. And in final, once again, thank you everyone, and let's hope that we all together obey the rules in partnership and save many people's lives, and maybe those that have got nothing to do with the particular situation. I wish you a wonderful good evening. And Selma, thank you again for the sign language interpretation, and we see you next week. Thank you and good night.